Hello, this is DIY Reptiles, and get this, I keep a bunch of reptiles, and as a means to make sure they are doing alright and checking in with them, I weigh them every month. In this video, I'm going to be showing the whole years of weighing videos because I have all of the weighing videos from 2021 and I haven't released any of them, and I'm just going to do one video because they're all essentially the same video, except some of them, like I didn't film for December, and I'm going to make a separate video for June. But other than that, these are all of those time lapses, and I will be talking about why I do this and why you should do it too. So generally, when weighing all of the reptiles, I start with the baby crested geckos. I breed crested geckos, so I have like 10 adults and a varying amount of babies as I rehome them. And I start off with them because they're kind of the hardest and most time consuming at this point because they're really small, they're hard to deal with, they're hard to get to stay onto the scale and to measure. And then I move on up to the other geckos, and then generally it's finally the turtles. So since we're doing the entire year, currently we're in May, when the turtles should be outside, or maybe they will soon be outside. So you may be wondering, with so many animals, why I even put the time to do this, because it does take like an entire day out of each month that I weigh all of the animals. It's generally an entire day dedicated to that, because generally I'm also feeding everyone because it takes all day. So then I feed the diurnal and the crepuscular and the nocturnal animals and just everyone. And the reason is with new animals, I need to make sure they're adjusting. So I weigh them as soon as I get them, and then I need to make sure that they kind of either grow or stay around that area and they do well. And that's very important, and it's makes it very clear to me that they are doing well in the environment that I'm providing. Then for animals like the baby crested geckos, I weigh them because it's information that I can provide a new owner, so then they can track their growth, and I just think that's cool if they care to know that. And for the normal animals that are always inside and kind of always in that same environment, I want to see what their normal weight is. So once they're done growing, or they're reptiles, so they might not stop growing. Once they kind of start to hit a plateau, I want to know what's normal for them, so then if something's wrong, then I'd be able to tell. This is very helpful when the animals that I do keep switch enclosures. So the crested geckos often switch enclosures, either to breed with other crested geckos or to kind of move up as far as enclosures go. I'm often upgrading and changing things, and I want to make sure that with every change they're doing well. So often, if I am changing up breeding groups, then I will weigh everyone that I'm switching around right before and weigh them extra during that situation, so then I know that they're doing well. And then with all the turtles switch enclosure twice a year. They go outside during the summer and they come inside during the winter, so they're always kind of being switched around and getting used to that and then being switched again, which I'm trying to get it so they're more permanently outside. But without a very large in-ground pond, it's hard to do that. With them always being switched around, I find it very important to ensure that I know what their normal weight is and where they're at, and if I need to change something either outside or inside. So during the summer when they're outside, it is quite important for me to also make sure to get them out, because I don't always see them because it's a huge tank, and that's what I'm doing with Marla here now. So this was Marcus, but now her name is Marla because it's a female and she's getting big. Goodness gracious. I've had her since she was like 2 inches. It's so crazy. There goes Mabel. But she has this bad I don't know. To me, it looks like it's probably I don't know if it's a bite wound or what. That's on the top of her head, or like head towards the neck, and it looks like it's healing over, but it's red still. I'm not like super concerned about it. You can kind of see right over her head, the skin roll over her head is kind of raw. So maybe she got bitten by somebody. I'm not entirely sure. Hope that's not the case, but I would assume. Other than that, she looks very good. Like, look at that shell. Oh my goodness. That was a perfect shell right there. Same thing on top. I mean, it's not perfect on top. Got some irregular scoots going on, but she always has. And it's been really interesting to raise her. I don't know what I'm pretty sure she was like 2 inches when I got her. So it's crazy to think that she's grown so much. I've never really raised, like, this is the first turtle I've ever raised, which is really interesting because I focus all the time on geckos, so it's kind of crazy to think that I've like properly raised a turtle. Overall, they seem to be doing well together, so I'm not too concerned about it because I'm not seeing like any missing claws or anything like that, and that's nothing greatly concerning. And this is something she can heal up from just fine. And she did. Occasionally, the males will bite the females' necks, I've found, but it happens very few and far between in the stock tank. When I eventually moved them inside, that was a big problem, and I had to separate them a lot. But it's not so much of a concern in the stock tank. There's lots of wood and rocks down there that kind of create visual barriers for them, so it's not too big of a deal. She did heal up, and everything was fine. It is something that I want to watch for, though, which is why I like to check on them each month to make sure everything's doing well, because if anything got bad, then I'd want to be able to see that. But generally, I'll see them out basking, and the bigger turtles may not always be out basking, but generally, like Marla and the smaller turtles will be, and those are more who I need to keep an eye on with Norman in the tank, which is a big adult male red-eared slider. So I was weighing the geckos even when I only had 2 crested geckos, and that was like it. And I do recommend it for anyone with lots of reptiles like I have. I mean, now I have like 30 crested geckos roundabout right now, currently, with the babies and everything. But I did it when I had 2 because it's really cool to see like the last 4 years of Darwin's weights, which is crazy that I have that, or 3 years roundabout. It's really cool to see because she was a juvenile when I got her, and now she's been an adult for a really long time. And it's interesting to see how her weights have changed. Like, where I originally thought Teddy and Darwin are both female. They're the 2 female crested geckos that I've had the longest. Where I originally thought Teddy plateaued, she's actually gotten a lot bigger, and now her normal weight is actually a lot more than I thought it would be. And that is the same, it's the opposite for Darwin. Darwin used to be bigger, and she's kind of gotten smaller and had a different top weight. And it's just kind of interesting to see. So my eventual goal with this, or the original plan, was to get to the point where I could see yearly changes, and I could be like, well, this one just laid eggs, or this one's about to lay eggs, and things like that, just from the weight. And it varies a lot, so I'm not exactly to that point yet, but eventually I could be maybe like 5 more years down the line. With the turtles and the geckos, I'll be able to see what's supposed to happen when the turtles move in and when the geckos are born, growing up, and things like that. Speaking of the turtles being moved in, I did weigh everybody. Basically, everybody's doing well. There's only a few concerns. Nothing to do with the turtles. The turtles are fine. I did move the turtles around a little bit, which I wanted to mention. I put Norman into this tank alone, and then I put Cardamon and Lewis into this tank up here. So that puts more turtles in this tank and 1 less turtle in this tank. But overall, Norman was being a real jerk, as he normally is, but I didn't feel like the dilution was enough, and it just seemed to work better in the stock tank, but not so much in this one, just because I think overall Norman could visibly see the turtles better in this tank, because I mean these are like half the size of the stock tank. So he's now going after the fish, but I think he'll eventually stop doing that. So I think it's all right during the summer, but just not so much in here. And since I have the opportunity to have him in a tank like this makes more sense. As I said, I did not film in December, though I did weigh everyone like I do every month. I hope you enjoyed this year of weighing videos, because that's kind of different. And I hope this encourages you to maybe start weighing your reptiles or even your mammals and such, just to know how they are doing, because they can't speak to you. And this is kind of a good way to monitor their health. I also measure all of them each time I do this, which helps me to know how much they are growing lengthwise. And you don't have to weigh them every month. You could weigh them quarterly or even yearly if that more suits your schedule and such. But I do recommend it. That's why I do it. If I didn't, I wouldn't put so much time into it if I didn't think it was helpful. And I think I'd worry a lot more about how the animals were doing if I did not have this information. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something. If you enjoyed this video, please like it down below and subscribe for more content.